There's a kind of tree that grows near water. Its roots do not grip the earth the way others do. Instead, they spread wide and shallow, moving with the bank as it shifts. When the river rises, the roots yield. When the ground settles, they settle too. The tree does not fight the motion. It finds its uprightness within it. Walking is like that. We think of it as getting somewhere, a means, a transition between one stillness and another. But the body knows something else. The body knows that each step is a small negotiation with gravity, a controlled falling and catching, a rhythm that does not require our commentary to continue. When we bring awareness to walking, we are not adding something new. We are noticing what has always been there. The heel meeting ground, the weight shifting forward, the release of the back foot. These are not spiritual events. They are simply what happens when a body moves through space. And yet, when we pay attention, something shifts. Not because walking becomes sacred, but because attention itself is a kind of stillness. Even when the body is in motion. You can try this now, if you like, not as a task, just as an experiment. If you are sitting, you might stand. If you are lying down, you might imagine it. There is no urgency. The ground is not going anywhere. Feel the weight in your feet. Not thinking about it, feeling it. The pressure where your heel touches, the slight coolness or warmth, the texture of the floor or the earth beneath you. Now, if you are able, take one step. Slowly. So slowly that you can notice the intention to move before the movement begins. That small flicker in the mind. The body preparing. Lift one foot. Feel the shift in balance, the way the standing leg receives more weight, the way the lifted foot becomes light, almost weightless. Move it forward, not far, just enough to place it down again. Heel first, then the ball of the foot, then the toes, the weight rolling through. Now the other foot, the same sequence. Intention. Lift, shift, place. This is walking meditation, not walking toward meditation, not using walking to get calm so that later, somewhere else, you can be present. This is it. The practice is the walking itself. The attention is the stillness. In the old teachings, they called this one of the four postures: sitting, standing, walking, lying down. Not because these are the only ways a body can be, but because these are the primary ways we meet our lives. And in each one, awareness is possible. Walking meditation is sometimes taught in a formal way. A path, perhaps 10 or 20 paces long. You walk to one end, pause, turn, walk back, slowly, with great attention. This is useful. The repetition allows the mind to settle. The boundaries keep the attention from wandering too far. But walking meditation is not only that. It is also walking to the kitchen, walking to the door, walking across a room to turn off a light. Any moment the body is moving and you remember to notice. The tree by the water does not distinguish between formal growth and informal growth. It is always responding, always yielding and standing at once. What makes walking meditation different from ordinary walking is not the speed, though slowness helps. It is not the location, though a quiet path helps too. What makes it different is the quality of attention. The willingness to be with what is happening as it happens. Most of the time when we walk, the mind is elsewhere. Planning, remembering, narrating. The body walks, but we are not with it. We are in the future or the past. We are in the story about where we are going or what we will do when we get there. There is nothing wrong with this. It is how minds work. But it means we spend much of our lives slightly absent, slightly removed from the actual texture of being alive. Walking meditation is a way of returning, not to some ideal state, not to a perfect presence, just to this. The foot lifting, the air moving past, the small sounds of your own motion. And here is what is interesting. When you walk with awareness, you begin to notice that stillness is not the opposite of movement. Stillness is a quality of mind. It can be present whether the body is sitting or walking or standing or lying down. The river moves and the tree is still, not still in the sense of frozen, still in the sense of settled, rooted in its own nature, responsive without reactivity. This is what we are exploring. Not how to stop moving, but how to find the ground even as we move. We walk thousands of steps each day and feel almost none of them. The ground rises to meet us with each footfall, but we are already elsewhere, planning the next hour, replaying the last conversation. The body moves forward while the mind scatters in 10 directions. We cover distance without arriving anywhere. A tree that does not know its roots cannot feel the wind properly. It sways without understanding what moves it. The branches respond to forces the tree cannot trace back to their origin. And so the tree lives half aware, moved by what it does not touch. We walk the same way. The earth holds us completely, but we do not feel the holding. The weight of the body passes through the feet, through the ground, and we notice none of it. We are held and we do not know it. The Buddha offered something very simple. When walking, know that you are walking. When standing, know that you are standing. Not as a command, not as one more thing to achieve, just as a return to what is already happening. Walking is not preparation for arrival. It is not the gap between here and there. Each step is complete. The foot lifts, swings forward, meets the ground. The weight shifts. The earth receives. This is not metaphor. This is the actual event. But we treat walking as empty time, a thing to get through. We walk to the kitchen while thinking about work. We walk to the car while rehearsing an argument. The body performs the motion and the mind is nowhere near it. What we miss is not small. The contact between foot and ground is one of the most constant experiences of a human life. We walk thousands of steps each day, thousands of moments when the body meets the world directly, and we are absent for almost all of them. A tree that does not know its roots cannot feel the wind properly. It bends and sways but does not understand the connection. The roots anchor, the wind pushes, and the tree experiences only the motion, not the ground that makes the motion possible. When we walk without feeling the ground, we lose the same thing. We move through space, but we do not feel what supports the movement. We are unanchored, not because the anchor is missing, because we are not attending to it. The practice is almost absurdly simple. Take 3 steps. Feel the full weight of each foot meeting the ground. Not 3 steps toward something, just 3 steps. The left foot lifts, the air passes beneath it. The foot swings forward, it descends. The heel touches first, then the ball of the foot, then the toes settle. The weight transfers. The ground pushes back with exactly the same force. The body is held, then the right foot. The same sequence. Lift, swing, descend, settle, hold. Then the left again. 3 steps. That is the practice, not 300. Not a full walking meditation session, just 3 steps where you feel the whole motion. You can do this anywhere, in the hallway between rooms. On the way to the door, standing up from your chair and taking 3 steps before you do anything else. The location does not matter. The speed does not matter. What matters is feeling the foot meet the ground. Most of us will notice immediately how difficult this is. The mind does not want to stay with something so simple. It wants to narrate the experience. It wants to judge whether you are doing it right. It wants to plan the next thing. The foot touches the ground, and the mind is already 2 steps ahead. This is not failure. This is just what minds do. They move, they scatter, they reach forward and backward. Noticing this is part of the practice. The mind wanders, you feel it wander, you return to the foot. The next step. the next contact. You do not need to walk slowly, though you can. You do not need to walk in a special place, though you can. You do not need to set aside time, though you can. You only need to feel one step, then another, then one more. When you feel the full weight of one foot meeting the ground, when you stay with the contact long enough to notice the pressure, the warmth, the slight adjustment of balance, something shifts, not dramatically, not permanently. But for that moment, you are exactly where your body is. The mind and the body are in the same place, that is all. One step, fully felt. We spend much of our lives walking towards something. The next room, the next meeting, the next moment we believe will be better than this one. And in that forward lean, the body becomes a vehicle we barely inhabit. The feet move, but we are already elsewhere. A river that tries to reach the ocean faster only becomes turbulent. It churns against its own banks. It loses the clarity that comes from moving at the pace the ground allows. We are not so different. When we rush, we create our own turbulence. The breath shortens, the jaw tightens. The mind begins to skim the surface of experience rather than rest in it. This hurrying is not just about speed, it is about craving. The belief that where we are is not enough, that the next step, the next destination, will finally deliver what this moment cannot. And so we walk faster. We lean into the future. We treat the path as an obstacle between us and arrival. But arrival is always dissolving. You reach the door and there is another room. You finish the task and there is another task. The destination you rush toward becomes the place you rush away from. This is not a failure of planning. It is the nature of craving itself. It cannot be satisfied because it is not looking for satisfaction. It is looking for the next thing. There is an old teaching. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The same actions, the same path. What changes is not the task, but the quality of presence brought to it. The wood does not become sacred. The water does not transform. But the one chopping and carrying is no longer elsewhere. The gap between doing and being collapses. Walking is no different. It is one of the most ordinary acts. We do it without thought. But it is also a doorway. When you slow the pace, even slightly, the automaticity breaks. The body begins to report what it has been doing all along. The weight shifting from heel to toe. The small adjustment of balance with each step. The way the breath changes when you are not rushing. Try this. Walk at half your normal speed for 1 minute, not as a performance, not to achieve a meditative state, just to see what happens when the body is allowed to move without the mind pulling it forward. You might walk across a room, down a hallway, from one end of your home to the other. The distance does not matter. At first it may feel awkward. The body is used to momentum. Slowing down reveals how much we rely on speed to carry us past the discomfort of being here. You may notice restlessness, a pulling sensation in the chest, the thought that this is a waste of time, that you should be getting somewhere. Let that be there. Do not try to fix it. Just feel the urge to hurry as a physical sensation. Where does it live in the body? What does it want? The river that tries to reach the ocean faster only becomes turbulent, but the river that moves at the pace the land allows becomes clear. You can see the stones beneath the surface. You can see the way the current shifts around what it meets. Slowing down does not stop the movement, it clarifies it. As you walk, notice the craving to be done, to arrive, to check this off and move to the next thing. That craving is not a problem to solve, it is something to know. It has a texture, a temperature, a rhythm. When you feel it without obeying it, something shifts. The urgency loses its grip, not because you have defeated it, but because you have stopped feeding it with speed. The feet continue to move. One step, another step, but the quality changes. You are not walking towards something, you are walking. The destination is still there, the door will still be reached, but the space between here and there is no longer empty. It is full of small sensations. The floor beneath your feet, the air against your skin, the tiny adjustments your body makes to stay upright. This is not about walking slowly forever. It is about feeling what happens when you stop using speed to escape the present. The body knows how to walk. It has always known. But when the mind is racing ahead, the body becomes a ghost. You arrive at the door with no memory of the hallway. You finish the day with no memory of the hours. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The path does not change. The feet still move, but the one walking is no longer trying to outrun the moment. The hurrying was never about the destination. It was about the fear that this step, this breath, this moment is not enough. And when that fear is seen clearly, felt fully, the rushing stops on its own. Not because you have arrived, but because you realize you were never truly moving toward anything at all. When you walk, the body moves forward, the feet touch the ground, the arms swing gently. But somewhere inside, the breath has been left behind. It continues on its own, unnoticed, while the mind rides along with the movement of the legs or drifts into thought. This creates a quiet division. The body goes one direction, the breath goes another. And you, caught between them, feel neither fully here nor fully anywhere. Two oxen yoked together plough a straight line. One ox alone wanders. When breath and step are separated, each pulls in its own direction. The walking becomes mechanical. The breathing becomes background. What could be whole becomes fractured without you even noticing the split. This is not a failure. It is simply what happens when attention has not yet learned to hold two things at once. The body is used to moving without awareness. The breath is used to being ignored. They have lived as strangers for a long time. Walking meditation asks them to meet, not through force, not through concentration that grips and tightens, but through a simple alignment. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. This is the foundation. Before the feet can join the breath itself must be known, not controlled, not deepened or slowed artificially, just recognized. The cool air entering, the warm air leaving, the gentle rise and fall that has been happening all along. Once the breath is felt, the feet can be invited in, not as a task to master, but as a natural pairing. 2 steps for the in-breath, 2 steps for the out-breath. The rhythm does not need to be perfect. It does not need to match some ideal count. It only needs to be true to what is actually happening in this body, in this moment. You begin by standing still. Feel the breath. Let it settle into its own pace. Then, when you are ready, take the first step as the in-breath begins. Then another step. The breath continues in. Then it turns and you step again as the out-breath flows. Another step, the breath completes. You pause just for a moment and let the next in-breath arrive on its own. At first, the pairing will feel awkward. The breath may be longer than 2 steps, or shorter. The mind may try to adjust the breath to fit the steps, or adjust the steps to fit some imagined correct rhythm. This is the old habit of control. It is the single ox pulling hard in one direction, trying to force the other to follow. But when the two are yoked together, neither dominates. The breath informs the step. The step supports the breath. They move as one, and the line they plough is straight, not because of effort, but because of balance. You may need to walk more slowly than usual. That is fine. Speed is not the point. You may need to shorten your stride or soften your landing. The ground is not something to conquer. It is something to meet. Each contact between foot and earth can be felt. The heel touches, the weight shifts, the toes press and release. And through it all, the breath continues, steady and known. When the mind wanders, the split returns. The feet keep moving, but the breath is forgotten again. You might find yourself 10 steps down the path before you notice. This is not a problem to fix with frustration. It is simply the moment to return. Feel the breath. Match the step. 2 in, 2 out. The oxen are yoked again. Sometimes the breath will want to change. It may deepen as the body warms. It may quicken if the path inclines. Let it. Adjust the steps to meet it. If the in-breath now takes 3 steps, take 3 steps. If it shortens to 1, take 1. The practice is not rigid. It is responsive. It is listening. After some time, the pairing becomes less effortful. The breath and step begin to find each other without being called. You are walking and you are breathing, and there is no gap between them. The body is whole. The movement is whole. The mind, no longer split, rests in the simple fact of walking and breathing at once. This is the moment the practice points toward, not as a destination to reach and leave behind, but as a return that can happen again and again. The breath and step, synchronized naturally, continue for several cycles without your needing to enforce the rhythm. You are simply present. The oxen move together. The line is straight. You begin walking, and immediately the mind begins its work. Left foot, right foot, stepping, turning, breathing. The commentary arrives before the contact does. The words come faster than the ground. This is what the mind does. It names, it organizes, it tries to help, but in doing so, it places a thin film between the body and the world. The foot touches earth, and before the feeling can complete itself, a thought has already wrapped around it and moved on. A cat walking along a fence does not think about balance. The body knows. The paws place themselves. The tail moves without instruction. There is no gap between sensing and responding. The fence is met directly, and the meeting is enough. When you walk, the body already knows how. The knees bend, the weight shifts, the heel meets ground, then the ball of the foot, then the toes. All of this happens without your supervision. It has always happened this way. But the mind, wanting to participate, begins to narrate, and in the narration, something is lost. The teaching is simple. The foot feels the foot when it feels the ground, not when it thinks about the ground, not when it remembers walking or anticipates the next step. The feeling is direct. It does not need language to exist. You can test this now if you are walking. Or you can remember the last time you walked with attention. Notice how the mind wants to label. Lifting, moving, placing. These words are not wrong, but they are not the same as the experience they describe. The word lifting is not the sensation of the leg rising. The word ground is not the coolness or hardness or texture under the sole. When the word's quiet, even for a moment, the body's intelligence becomes audible. You may notice that the foot adjusts itself on uneven ground without being told, that the breath deepens or shortens according to the pace, that the arms swing in a rhythm that was never consciously chosen. All of this is happening. It has always been happening. The mind's narration simply made it harder to hear. The practice then is not to walk better. It is to walk without naming, to let the body move as it already knows how. This does not require effort. It requires less commentary, less management, less trying to be present, and more willingness to stop obstructing what is already present. A cat on a fence does not congratulate itself for not falling. It simply continues. The balance is not an achievement. It is what happens when the body is allowed to respond to what it meets. When you walk without words, the same intelligence is there. The ground rises to meet the foot receives the ground. This exchange happens in silence. You may find that the mind resists this. It will want to check in. Am I doing it right? Is this mindfulness? Am I present yet? These questions are not enemies, they are simply more narration. When they come, you do not need to answer them. You can let them arrive and let them pass, the way you let a sound pass, and return to the wordless fact of walking. The body does not need to be taught how to walk. It learned long ago. What it needs is to be trusted, to be allowed to do what it has always done, without the mind insisting on running a parallel commentary. This trust is not built through effort. It is revealed when effort is withdrawn. There is a difference between attention and narration. Attention feels the texture of the ground. Narration says rough or smooth and moves on. Attention notices the shift of weight from one leg to the other. Narration counts steps or judges pace. Attention is direct. Narration is second-hand. When you walk in silence, you are not trying to empty the mind. You are simply not feeding the habit of naming. The mind may still produce words. That is what minds do. But you do not have to pick them up. You do not have to follow them. You can let them be background, the way distant traffic is background, and keep your attention with the body's quiet knowing. The foot feels the foot when it feels the ground. This is not poetry. It is instruction. The feeling is immediate. It does not wait for permission. It does not need to be interpreted. It simply is. And when you stop narrating, even for 3 steps, even for 5, you will notice that the walking continues. The body has not forgotten. It never needed the words. You lift your foot and the ground leaves. You pace it down and the ground returns. Between these 2 moments, something shifts. The body never lands in quite the same way twice. We walk expecting continuity. We want the 3rd step to feel like the 2nd, the 10th to echo the 1st. When the rhythm breaks, when one foot feels heavier or the knee catches slightly, we tense. We think something has gone wrong. We try to smooth it out, to return to what we imagine walking should feel like. But no wave in the ocean is identical to the one before it. Each one rises from different currents, shaped by wind and tide and the contours of what lies beneath. They do not try to repeat themselves. They simply arrive, crest, and dissolve. Your steps are the same. Each one is born from a different arrangement of weight, breath, attention, and the body's quiet adjustments. The left foot may press more firmly into the heel. The right may roll slightly outward. The next step may feel lighter or slower or somehow uneven. This is not a problem to solve. This is the nature of what moves. The Buddha taught that all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. A step is a conditioned thing. It arises from muscles, bones, intention, balance, the surface beneath you. None of these remain fixed. The breath changes, the ground shifts, attention wanders and returns. What you call walking is not one solid thing repeating. It is a stream of small events, each one slightly different from the last. When you expect sameness, you meet disappointment. The body will not perform the same step twice, no matter how much you try to control it. And so you suffer quietly, adjusting and correcting, searching for a version of walking that feels right. You are chasing a wave that has already dissolved. The practice is simpler than that. Walk slowly enough to notice. Lift the foot and feel what lifting feels like in this moment. Not what it felt like before. Not what it should feel like. Just this. Place the foot down and feel the contact. Notice the small differences. One step may feel solid, the next may feel tentative, another may feel almost weightless. Do not try to fix it. Do not try to make the next step match the one before. Let each step be what it is. No wave in the ocean tries to copy the last. It moves according to what is present. Your walking can be the same. Each step can be its own arrival, shaped by the conditions of this breath, this balance, this moment. When you stop demanding that the body repeat itself, something loosens. You are no longer walking toward an idea of how it should feel. You are simply walking. The unevenness is not a flaw. It is the proof that you are alive, that the body is responding to what is real. This is where impermanence becomes visible, not in a concept, but in the texture of your heel meeting the floor, in the slight wobble of your ankle, in the way your weight shifts just a little differently each time. You do not need to think about impermanence, you can feel it. And when you feel it, the clinging begins to ease. You stop trying to hold the body still. You stop trying to make this step feel like the last one. You let the wave rise and fall. You let the foot land where it lands. This does not mean walking becomes careless. It becomes more honest. You are no longer walking through a memory of how walking felt before. You are walking through what is actually here. The breath changes too. One breath is shallow. Another is deep. You do not try to make them match. You simply breathe. Walking is no different. One step is long, another is short. You do not try to make them match, you simply step. After a while, you may notice that the search for sameness was the only thing making walking feel difficult. The body was always moving in its own rhythm. You were the one insisting it should move in yours. So you walk, you feel the foot lift, you feel it fall. You notice that this step is not the last step. You notice that the next step will not be this one. And in that noticing, something softens. The body is allowed to be what it is. The wave is allowed to crest and dissolve. And you are simply here, walking, without needing it to be anything other than what it is. Most of us walk through the day carrying ourselves like a bundle. There is the walker and there is the walking. One moves the other. One directs, one follows. It feels obvious, necessary. But when you begin to walk with attention, something shifts. The boundary between who walks and what is walked starts to blur. Try this now, or hold it for your next slow walk. Stand still for a moment. Feel the weight in your feet. Then lift one foot. Not because you've decided to walk somewhere, but just to see what lifting feels like. The heel rises. The ball of the foot presses down slightly before it too leaves the ground. The leg swings forward. The foot meets the floor again. There is contact. There is weight shifting. There is balance adjusting without anyone adjusting it. Wind moves through grass, but there is no wind separate from the moving. You cannot point to wind and say, there it is, standing still. You only know wind by what it does. The grass bends, the leaves turn over, the surface of water ripples. In the same way, walking is only known by the walking itself. The sensations arise, the body responds, the ground meets the foot. But where exactly is the one who walks? This is not a trick question. It is an invitation to look. Not with thought, but with attention. When you walk slowly, with awareness, you begin to notice that what you call walking is actually a stream of small events. Pressure in the heel, a slight tilt forward, the release of tension in one leg as the other engages, the swing, the landing, the pause before the next step. None of these moments announce themselves as yours. They simply happen. They arise in awareness and they pass. The teaching says, in walking, there is only walking. No one walks. At first this sounds abstract, maybe even frustrating. Of course someone is walking. I am walking. But stay with the experience a little longer. Ask quietly, without force, who is walking. Do not answer with a name or a story. Just ask and return to the sensation, the pressure, the movement, the balance. You might notice that the question does not land anywhere solid. There is no part of the body you can point to and say, that is the walker. The feet are not walking, they are being moved. The legs are not walking. They are extending and contracting. The mind is not walking. It is noticing, sometimes narrating, sometimes drifting away entirely. And yet, walking continues. The body knows what to do. It has always known. Wind moves through grass. You do not see the wind holding the grass, deciding which blade to bend. You see bending. You see movement. The grass does not resist the wind or cling to stillness. It moves because conditions allow it. In the same way, walking happens because conditions support it. Intention arises, the body responds, the ground is there, gravity pulls, balance adjusts. There is no gap where a separate self must step in and make it all work. This does not mean you disappear. It means the heaviness of selfing begins to ease. Selfing is the constant work of claiming experience, of narrating each moment as mine. My step, my body, my walking. It is exhausting, though we rarely notice the exhaustion because it has always been there. But in walking meditation, when you ask who is walking and let the question rest in the body rather than the mind, the claiming quiets. What remains is just this: the foot lifting, the air on your skin, the rhythm of your breath. Walk slowly enough that you can feel each part, not to control it, but to meet it. The heel touches down. There is a brief moment of stillness before weight transfers. The toes press gently into the ground. The back leg begins to release. There is no need to narrate this, no need to approve or correct. Just the simple fact of movement unfolding in its own time. Ask again, who is walking? Let the question be soft. Let it dissolve into the sensation of the next step. And the next. If the mind offers an answer, notice that the answer is also just a thought, arising and passing. It is not more solid than the feeling of your foot on the ground. It is not more true than the shift of weight, the slight sway, the quiet hum of aliveness that moves through the whole body without anyone conducting it. The grass bends, and in bending there is no grass separate from the bending. There is just this movement, responsive and complete. Walking happens the same way, one step and then another. Not because someone is walking, but because walking is what is happening now. You take a step and the knee complains, or the mind wanders halfway down the path and suddenly you are planning dinner. Or restlessness moves through the body like static, and standing still for even a moment feels impossible. Something arises that you did not invite, and the first impulse is to push it away or clench around it. This is where walking meditation often begins to feel like effort. You wanted calm, you wanted clarity. Instead there is discomfort or distraction, or the sense that you are doing it wrong. The body tightens, the breath shortens, you try harder to focus, and the trying itself becomes another layer of tension. Water does not fight the stone. It moves around it, or it waits. It does not argue with what is solid. It does not demand that the stone be softer or smaller or somewhere else. The stream continues, shaped by what it meets. In the Theravada tradition, the instruction is simple. Whatever arises in the mind or body, note it and return to the step. Not because the arising is bad, not because you fail to concentrate, but because the step is where you placed your attention, and the practice is to return there again and again without force. This is not about perfecting the walk, it is about meeting what interrupts the walk without tightening against it. When pain arises in the knee or the hip, the reflex is to brace. The mind says this should not be here, or I need to fix this, or I cannot continue. The body responds by guarding, by pulling away from the sensation even while the sensation remains. But the guarding does not reduce the pain, it adds resistance to it. Pause. Not because pausing will make the pain vanish, but because pausing interrupts the reflex to fight. Stand still for a moment, feel the ground under both feet. Notice where the discomfort is and where it is not. The knee hurts, the ankle does not. The breath is still moving, the chest is still open. Name what is there. Silently, without drama. Pain, tightness, heat, whatever word fits. The naming is not a judgment. It is a way of seeing clearly. Water does not fight the stone, but it does touch it. It knows the shape of what it meets. Then take one gentle step, not a full stride, not a return to the rhythm you had before. just one step, with as much softness as you can find. Let the foot meet the ground slowly. Feel the shift of weight. Notice if the pain changes or stays the same. You are not trying to walk through it or around it. You are walking with it for this one step. If the step feels possible, take another. If it does not, stand a moment longer. There is no rule that says you must keep moving. The practice is not the number of steps. The practice is the quality of attention you bring to whatever is happening. Distraction works the same way. The mind leaves. You are walking, and then you are thinking about a conversation from yesterday, or a task you forgot, or a sound in the distance. You notice this, and the first reaction is often frustration. I was supposed to stay present. I lost it again. But the noticing itself is presence. The moment you see that the mind has wandered, you are already back. Not because you forced your way back, but because awareness returned on its own. Noted, thinking, planning, remembering. The word does not need to be precise, it just needs to be honest. Then bring attention back to the step, the heel touching down, the ball of the foot, the toes, the lifting of the other foot. The practice is not in staying focused. The practice is in returning. Restlessness is harder because it does not sit still long enough to be named. It moves through the legs, the chest, the hands. It says, keep going, or stop now, or this is pointless. It makes the body want to speed up or abandon the path entirely. Pause. Even if pausing feels like the last thing the body wants. Stand and feel the restlessness without obeying it. It is energy. It is sensation. It is not a command. Water does not fight the stone, and it does not fight the current within itself. It moves, but it is not frantic. Take one step slower than the restlessness wants. Let the step be deliberate. Let it be softer than the urge to rush. The restlessness may not dissolve. It may stay for the whole walk. But you do not have to move at its pace. You can meet it and still choose the rhythm of your own foot touching the ground. This is equanimity. Not the absence of difficulty, but the willingness to let difficulty be there without collapsing into it or hardening against it. The step continues. The breath continues. What arises is noted, met, and allowed to move through. There is a habit we carry without noticing it. We treat practice as something that begins when we sit down and ends when we stand up. As if awareness were a guest we invite in only when the conditions are perfect. The cushion, the quiet room, the right posture. And then we leave the room and return to what we call real life, where the mind scatters again into its familiar patterns. But the sky does not distinguish between the sacred hour and the ordinary one. It holds both the morning you set aside for meditation and the afternoon you spend walking to the store. The same openness, the same light. Zen points to this directly. It says that the practice is not separate from the life you are already living. Walking, standing, sitting, lying down, your everyday mind. Not the mind you hope to cultivate someday, but the one that is here now, moving through the world, touching surfaces, hearing sounds, taking steps. Walking meditation is not a special activity, it is walking, with one difference. You do not abandon yourself while you do it. Most of the time when we walk, we are not really there. The body moves, but the mind is somewhere else entirely, rehearsing a conversation, planning the next task, reviewing what happened an hour ago. The feet touch the ground, but we do not feel it. We arrive at the destination without remembering the journey. This is not wrong. It is simply what the mind does when left to itself. It reaches forward. It doubles back. It tries to solve problems that are not yet here and may never come. But there is another way to walk. You do not need to slow down. You do not need to adopt a formal posture or count your steps. You simply walk as you normally would, but you keep a thread of awareness alive in one foot, not both feet, just one. Feel it lift. Feel the shift of weight as the heel leaves the ground and the ball of the foot presses down for a moment before releasing. Feel the foot swing forward through the air. Feel it meet the earth again. You do not need to narrate this. You do not need to name each sensation. Just stay with the feeling, the soft impact, the texture of the ground through your shoe, the small adjustments your ankle makes without you telling it to. When the mind wanders, and it will, you do not scold it. You simply return to the foot, one step, then another. The thread does not need to be thick. It does not need to be constant. It just needs to be there, faint and steady, like a horizon line you can glance toward when you realize you have drifted. This is not about achieving a particular state. It is about remembering that you are here, that this step is not a means to an end. It is not taking you away from practice. It is the practice. The sky does not wait for you to notice it before it opens. It is already open. And so is this moment, whether you are walking to a meditation hall or walking to take out the trash. The separation we feel between practice and life is not built into the structure of things. It is a story we tell. We say, this moment counts, and this one does not. This activity is spiritual, and this one is mundane. But the foot touching the ground does not know the difference. The breath moving in and out does not pause when you step off the cushion. Walking with awareness does not require you to withdraw from the world. You can still see where you are going. You can still notice the people around you, the weather, the sound of traffic. But underneath all of that, there is the foot. One point of contact, one thread, and in that thread, something shifts. The mind is still thinking, but it is not lost. The body is still moving, but it is not abandoned. You are walking, and you are aware that you are walking. Not as two separate things, but as one seamless gesture. This is what it means to bring practice into life. Not by setting aside more time, not by adding another layer of effort, but by recognizing that the awareness you touch in stillness is the same awareness that can move with you. The foot lifts, the foot falls, the sky holds it all without preference. And so can you. You may have noticed that when the walking becomes still, something shifts, not dramatic, not sudden, just a quiet recognition that movement and stillness were never truly separate. The foot lifts, the foot falls, and in that simple rhythm, the mind finds a place to rest. This is not something you need to perfect. Walking meditation does not ask for mastery. It asks only that you show up again and again with whatever attention you can bring. Some days the mind will be clear. Other days it will wander endlessly. Both are part of the path. Both are workable. What matters is that you keep returning. Not with force, but with gentleness. The way you might guide a small child who has wandered off, bringing them back without scolding. This is how we meet ourselves in practice, with patience, with kindness. As you step away from this practice, you might carry something with you, not a technique to be applied, but a quality of awareness, a willingness to notice, to feel the ground beneath you even when you are not formally practicing, to sense the rhythm of your own movement through the day. Walking meditation teaches us that we do not need special conditions to be awake. We do not need silence or solitude, though those can help. We only need to be here, in this body, in this moment, taking one step at a time. And in that simplicity, there is freedom. May this practice serve you well. May it bring you closer to the quiet center that is always available, even in the midst of movement. May it remind you that stillness is not the absence of motion, but the presence of awareness. May you walk with ease. May you walk with clarity. May you find in each step a small moment of peace. And may this peace extend beyond your own experience. As you walk, you are not separate from the world around you. Your steps touch the same earth that holds all beings. Your breath moves through the same air. In this way, your practice is never only for yourself. So may all beings find steadiness in their steps. May all beings walk without fear. May those who are restless find calm. May those who are lost find their way. May those who carry heavy burdens feel them lighten, even if just for a moment. May all beings know safety. May all beings know ease. May all beings be free from suffering. This is not a prayer in the religious sense. It is simply an acknowledgement of our shared experience. We all walk through this life. We all stumble. We all search for balance. And in recognizing that, we soften. We become a little less isolated, a little more connected. You do not need to feel anything grand when you offer these wishes. You do not need to manufacture warmth or force compassion. Just let the words settle. Let them point toward a natural kindness that is already present beneath all the noise. May you be well. May you be at peace. May you move through your days with awareness and care. If you would like to continue exploring these practices, there are other reflections available. Teachings on breath, on sitting, on working with difficulty. No pressure to move on, no urgency. They are simply here if you find them useful. But for now, let yourself rest. Let the practice settle into your body. Let the walking become part of you, not as something you do, but as something you are. A being in motion, a being at rest, both at once. The path continues, step by step, and you are already walking it. May your journey be gentle. May your heart be light. May you find stillness wherever you go.